me. But yeah, we. I remember going. I had this. What are they? The Ford Ranger. It was a. I had it when I got it. It only had. I think it was either 19 or 21,000 miles on it, and it would not go up hills very fast. That's the only thing I hated about it. It was. Fortunately, sorry. Let me fix that. I thought I muted that. Substack coming online, but I hated going up mountains and stuff with it, which I had to do sometimes. But it was a good running truck. I had it for a long, long time. Gave it to my son, and he drove it for a long, long time. Wrecked it a couple of times, and then killed it. But I think that truck probably had 250,000 plus miles on it by the time it finally completely disintegrated. Good morning. I am doing well. Thank you on Instagram. Anna71456. I am doing well. God bless all of you this morning. Happy Tuesday. And if you're on the other side of Rumble, we just now got the stream up, so which brings in some other channels. So it's being a pain in the rear end, but it's okay. It went live when we AM. It's an iPhone app this morning, first time ever. Just dilly dallying around, having some fun. So, but yeah, I had some good cars. I never had the really fast cars or anything like that. A lot of my friends. In fact, probably Daryl, Midnight Rider, who comes in the show. I don't know if he ever had a fast car, but he probably worked on a lot of the guys took the automotive class, and they would end up working with a guy. He was former race car driver, and he would build them a hot rod. I mean, the motor. He just built the motor, but he showed them all kinds. He'd give them little extra things, little ways to hide the noise when the police, around, and then open it back up. He had some stuff he just modified on his own. These weren't stock. These were things he did on his own. He just tell him to go get the block, and he would go get it. And he'd build it from there, for a price. Those kids were working, and some of them had money. They'd say, some of them just worked hard, and I think probably got some of them to help him. It's what you do. You get some help in the cheap help that while you're building the motor, they're pumping gas or something. But I'm sure he's dead nowadays. He was elderly then, but I had heard, for people in the area, they may know what I'm talking about. I had heard though he'd gotten injured in his, he had got injured bad in a wreck, racing, and hurt his elbow, and somehow it messed up the nerves. And in that arm, he could hold. He could for a running motor, he could unplug. He could take a plug off and hold it, and it didn't bother him. And he just hold it, you know. And he would trick those. Oh my gosh, you get in so much trouble today. He would trick the new guys into holding it hold this for a second. It gets zapped. I heard that, but I was never in his class because I was never really a mechanic. I was never one of those tearing down the motors. But I did go up there and get him to. It was a funny. I took my car up there. I hadn't been out of school long, and we had this one teacher, and he was like an English teacher, and he was Mr. Security. Back before you didn't have resource officers back when I was there. They just called the police. If the gym coach couldn't handle it, they just called the police. So we didn't have no officers running up down. They usually had a teacher. They would take turns. Whoever didn't have a class, I guess, would patrol the halls or stuff. But anyway, then you had your maintenance guys. But anyway, I went out there after I was out of school, and you could get a tune-up if you bought all the parts, the plugs and the wires and all that, and other things with minor stuff like that. You could take it up there, and they get the guys to do the tune-up. It didn't cost you a penny, free labor. They wanted the practice. So I was driving my car up there, and dude was sitting in the back of the school. He sees me coming. He chases me down, cuts me off. I'm like, what are you doing? He didn't realize, I guess I was out of school. But then he said, why are you in class? Dude, I don't go here no more. I've graduated. He's like, oh, well, then what are you doing back here? You can't just run up here on school and run around. I said, I'm not running around. I said, I have an appointment over here at the automotive. I said, they're going to tune my car up. Oh, and so he follows me over with his little bitty Barney Fife light, and he follows me over there to verify all this stuff. He never liked me, but I thought it was funny. I had fun that day. No, there's no shop class anymore, man. I had a pretty cool 80s Monte Carlo with turbo train. It would bark the gears, and it was automatic. I cut a telephone pole in half of that. Car Dukes of Hazzard style airborne. Wow. No, a lot of that stuff's gone, man. They are bringing back, they got rid of all the vocational stuff like that at one time. I mean, just all of it went away. When I was there, you had construction, automotive, drafting was a big thing. I don't even remember. They had four or five. So all the guys that would their dads kind of raised them to build. They would, and in the construction class, the project was, and they probably did this for somebody as well. I think to do practice, I think they had a deal with a local business that did those, the buildings like I'm in right now, my studio, and they would build that over the course of the 6 weeks or whatever you were in there. That's what they would do. They would build that, the roof and tiles. They didn't do metal roofs, but they would do, the roofing and all that. And that was, they didn't wire it or anything. They would just build it. And that was their class project that they would do. And then they would work on all kinds of other little things along the way. Did the wood and shop and drafting. And I did wood shop, they didn't call it wood, it was called shop in middle school, which we didn't call it middle school. It was junior high back then. And so we would do little different things, but we were taught, drill presses and all that stuff. That was a lot of that class. We only built something small. I had the traditional shop teacher, man. Guy looked like he's, about 110 pounds soaking wet with the, the pen pencil thing in their pocket with multiple pens. He's a great guy. And guys would get in trouble. And back in those days, he didn't worry about, I don't think he worried too much about paddlings. He just grabbed those guys up and he would, he'd make them do something they didn't want to do. He'd say, you're not going to act like that in the shop. He was worried about on safety. Of course, he had to be, and that's why, we couldn't, be out horsing around or acting up. So, you did what you did. I was in the Rocket Club too. I won the Lewis Patterson Award for building rockets. That was fun. Man, we never had nothing like that. That would have been cool. They had something else. We might have had a metal fab shop, if I remember right. Seemed like we had a metal shop where you could, you learned how to, shape, the fab stuff, because it seemed like that was one of them. So some of the guys were torn like they wanted to do. And I think in the metal shop, you got to practice welding. So you had that side and you had construction. A lot of guys would take one and then they would take the other. Sometimes they took all, you go from wood, metal. Sometimes they filled up and you had to take one of the others. So you kind of rotated around. And I did go in the construction one, I think, if I remember right. But man, I hammered some nails and stuff. I did cut some wood, but I was never really a construction guy. So I'd listen to all the experts in the room who was already working for their dad, probably out, the summers on their actual construction jobs and stuff. So those guys were already used to just slinging it, man. And we didn't have automatic nailers back then. So it was all, just hammering. And those guys were, sometimes football players and stuff. And they just loved it. But and then for the girls, I don't think girls couldn't do that, but traditionally, that was all boys. They had some for the girls, and I don't remember what all of them were. I think they had a sewing class. Taught you some sewing, and you could make their project would be to make an outfit or a couple of outfits over the project. And there was a couple more. There was, I would say 6 to 8 times like that, depending on how many if they didn't have enough, they wouldn't have it for that semester or whatever. I don't know how much that happened, but I think I can remember they didn't get enough. They wouldn't do it. But they never had problems filling the others. I remember they were just packed out. But those were your extra classes. Of course, you had a pretty heavy workload, early in and you still do. I just want my granddaughter up there. She's going into high school this next year or this year. And she, they front load a lot of it, uh, trying to get all the academics in. But as you go through it, then I don't know if they even have any of that stuff anymore. Now it's all about doing early college. So I think it would be bad. I wanted to do metal shop, but I was taking advanced art class. So that would be another one for 2 periods. I wanted to go to college for design. Oh, cool, man. Um, so yeah, that'd be another one. Art. I forgot about that. I was never an artist either, although I did take an online art class through college, and I really enjoyed it. I had a great time with that. They gave me some leeway and freedom to do some stuff that I wanted to do, and the class was your project was to really work around online art, pictures, and stuff like that. So I used War Between the States pictures and had a ball with it. I would do that class again in a heartbeat. It was so much fun. I, so an hour a week when you're working on your project outside of that. So every week you're really just going over your project. So the project at the end is your grade. I loved it because something I didn't have to go. Oh man, I got to sign on and do this. No, I enjoyed doing it, so I was ahead. So I got an A+ in that one because and I don't consider myself artistic at all, but I had such a good time with it. They let me. They just let me have some freedom there, and I really had a great time. They denied me a scholarship because I refused to play football. Crazy. Wow. Well, I guess I don't understand all that stuff sometimes. You know, um, a lot of my friends got baseball, football, but also academic scholarships. I did not go to college until much later. In fact, this just was around. I finished mine up in 21. I went back and I did mine in health and safety because I was working in safety for 15 years. I worked in safety, so I was going to be a safety manager. But I also had a side kind of thing going with training, and that's what I ended up doing was I used that to go into training. So I'm a training manager. I love it. I love people. It fit me. So in fact, I'm doing training this week. Sometimes that's just managing training. That's what. But I'm actually training, and I like both. So, but yeah, I love that they're bringing back vocationals. The local schools and companies now are working closely with vocational schools, and Georgia's doing a big push on that. And Georgia has excellent vocational schools. I may not like all the things they do in education sometimes, the content sometimes, but I'm going to say this: Georgia has an excellent vocational school college. A lot of them are just geared towards getting that thing that you want. It's not they're not the go on campus become indoctrinated kind of thing. There's probably an element of that there, even a small, but a lot of the ones that are mid level, they're just excellent colleges, and they're all geared towards ended up. Some of them specialize in certain things, maybe 4, 5, 6 things, and they just hammer that. And they're just really good colleges. This university system and vocational school, which it got behind even in Georgia, but they really have done a great job of that. And it's expanded. There's now campuses all over the place for these things. Up here, it's called Northwestern Tech. It's been here forever. They just really poured money in it, made it bigger. There's extensions. Companies will pay up 75%, 100% up to some level, I think, but maybe 75% for all of it. And we do a lot of the companies around here for the guys. It could be many things, but a lot of them are going in and taking because now technology is changing, and so they need to go in and get the robotics and stuff like that. So that's what a lot of them are doing. AGV type stuff, going back. Some of them are going back even because it's all switching so fast. So these young guys are coming up. They're so smart and everything, and they've already got a pretty good handle on that. And they dive into those things. They can raise their career up pretty fast, and that money's good. It's real good. So, and then there's they also work closely with They've done it for a long time, but they got so desperate for truck drivers. There's a school here, and of course they work with all the majors, and they'll pay for you to go to school as long you got to work for them for at least 2 years, I think. But I think it's 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. You have your CDLs. Now, you got a lot to learn, but you know the truck, you know how to maneuver, move it. There's always, there's such a shortage of drivers. There really is. So I told you this. I was talking to a kid he was standing in line at Chick-fil-A. I was just talking to him. I said, "You still in school?" He said, "Yeah." He was a senior. So what are you gonna do when you get out? He said, I'm gonna drive a truck. That's what I want to do. And I was telling him, man, there is so many opportunities out there right now. You won't have to pay for it. I mean, you just hook up with the right people. And he was telling me he wanted to do on the road too, which is the easier one to get because a lot of people don't want to do that. So I was like, he just looked like that guy. I like it, man. I wish I had been that way. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Some kids, they just got it. They got it mapped out. They know exactly what they want to do. They will be that the rest of their life, and I love that. I think that's awesome. A lot of kids don't know though. Some switch, even in college, they'll switch halfway through or something. I talked to a young man yesterday. He had went one way, and then he decided this is not for me, and did a whole switch, and now he's moving that way. He just said, wasn't for me. I did a recording engineer test, skipped the course, made a 96. I missed 2 questions, but they had their own answers. They changed the answers, those 2 questions, so I made 100 when it was said and done. How about that? Um, really today, with all the technology, all the information that's available, um, if you study enough, by the time you even go towards taking a class, you could probably pass the class in the front end. There's so many videos. There's so many people, things you can test on and work on. Do work with a apprentice or something with somebody. There's a lot of time you know. And really, what the degree shows you, it opens doors. But what the degree shows you, as someone told me who was wise, that it just shows that you can learn. Now, granted, there's things you learn there, and you learn to do things maybe even in a bigger way. Um, but if you can do it, you can do it. Now, when you get into things like law and stuff like that, that's such a heavy one, and you're specializing in law. That's a lot. It's our doctor. I get it. You're going to be going to school for a long time. I mean, that is 8 years minimum on those. You got your college, then you got your law school or medical school. Sometimes they specialize. They go another 4 years. I mean, they come out, making specialist or something. And you did the Calvary Chapel Bible College in 2000 pastor course, but I got to count that as done. Um, but yeah, if you have a head on your shoulders, you can learn. Anyway, I was going to say I had a teacher once. She said her grandson. Back in the day when you could, back in the day when you could interview for a job and face to face, which is getting more rare. You could if you studied and you had skill, you could do this. But this guy went in and got a job, and he had never did it before, but he had so much knowledge of it. They said he was an expert, and all he did was he studied. He studied. He knew what he was doing, but he never had did the job before. And he got the job. That shows. I'm impressed with people that do stuff like that. That's pretty cool. I studied recording from books and magazines. I recorded myself. That's how I did it. Yeah, and that's like I said. You don't have to go the traditional way. Experience, know-how can bypass a lot of that. They'll give you credit for that. I know people that's got 2 years of credit for all the things they were already involved with. They said you're not entry level. Boom, 2 years already, which maybe sometimes is all you need, and they'll sign off on it. Your transcripts are good. You do your test. Your knowledge is good. Boom. There's just some high level. Some people they work hard at something. They go after it. In other words, they're not sitting there saying "give me." They just go after it. And maybe they already worked for their dad or something or grandfather or whatever, and they already have a lot of tribal knowledge. And so they go in. They're just getting a paper. That's what they're looking for. They're getting their paper. I love to study lots of subjects. Learning is great and shouldn't stop. No, it shouldn't stop. I believe you should learn until you can't learn no more, until you're dead. Never stop learning. Always have a new interest and go after it. and just stay after. And that's me. I mean, um, I just don't give up. There's some things I can't figure out. I just keep working at it, or sometimes I will get others to help me with it. It may be a little bit above what I've learned, but I just try to stay after it and learn. And today, and really today, with like I said, with all the tools, these kids come in like they're in middle school already knowing they're already doing things on a high level. There's some doggone smart kids, and they're already doing a lot of things way before they ever get. And before they get there. In fact, we brought in at our company, we bring in. There's a local high school that has a robotics team, and man, these guys and gals, they would not be interested in manufacturing, honestly. But when they see the robotics that we have, that draws an interest. It's like, oh, okay, a guy that maybe didn't think about it before says, at least makes them think. And we're getting more robotic at our company, as all companies are going to have to do. We do it mainly for the manual labor, lifting, material handling. We're still got a ways to go, but we do a lot of robotics, and it doesn't it don't get tired. It don't take days off. There's still workers working around. So these guys come in, and we in the early days we've got guys now that are really knowledgeable about a lot of it, but we used to have to hire that in. It's very expensive. So you build your homegrown talent up, and so you can work on your own stuff is what it is. Next thing these companies will do is be designing their own. They won't work with a company. They'll have a design team, and they'll just design their own stuff. It's all growing so fast. Um, Good morning to you. I don't know what that means, but okay. Is that slang, or I don't know what it is. So chill, daddy, chill. I don't know, but wish they'd had a robotics class when I was in school. I had a director said, yeah. I know people that are, senior managers now that are going back and getting knowledge on some of the stuff for safety. They're taking classes to get more knowledgeable about it and I'll give you a perfect example of where we're at, and nobody knows what to do. Honestly, there's no good answers. You won't find anybody has great answers, and that is with the making things, that run on batteries. Some of these batteries, they just when they catch, they're burning, and they've done fire blankets and stuff like that, but they'll burn until they burn out. And we've seen the videos of school buses and things, downtown buses that handle taking people here and there, catching on fire. Well, this is happening in companies too, and they'll have these little robots, AGVs, official term, but they take them and they're material handling. They're taking material. It's something you can do, program pretty easy. But some of those in companies have caught on fire, and there's no good answers for any of that right now. You ask for it, and we get, because they don't know. And it's exploded to the point where everybody has them, and now they don't know what to do when that happens. I mean, they give you guidelines. I mean, what they would like for you to do is get it outside because it's a danger to your facility. But you can't just grab hold of it. So I ran a robotic arm when I worked for Mitsubishi. That was fun. Arm inside a robot arm, placing GRT tubes on TV chassis. Oh, cool. It's all changing. I mean, it really is. And the technology is sometimes where we're at and where technology doesn't meet. It's maybe not quite what we need, or it's a little far for what we need. We're not quite ready for it, or they're not ready for us. But more and more, they're dialing that in, and you're seeing more and more people go that way. And again, trying to stay competitive in the workplace, with foreign, people trying to take your business. The more you can do with that, with things that are routine tasks, things where people are having to lift a lot, it's hard on the body. That's a great place for things like that. So that's where we use it at, like moving packages to a rack, moving a rack to a machine. or then moving that eventually in that one from the rack to the machine. Um, we still have a lot of that, but we're getting more and more, and some of our facilities are not total, but pretty close. Everything is, except for the people that are, you still have workers, you still have people that are working on the machine, or running the inputs, putting labels on stuff, or shipping or whatever. Eventually, that will all go that way. It's gonna be wild. I mean, you imagine pole trucks, fork trucks running around your facility, robotic. Of course, there'll be protected lanes and stuff because you can't have system breakdowns. Hopefully, not to the level of what was the old Yul Brynner movie where he went haywire. When we ran the out of the Mitsubishi CRTs, they had me put cheap RCA tubes in TVs, which I felt dirty doing. Well, there's a lot of things that can happen like that, no doubt, uh, for sure. You know, there are less than honorable companies sometimes with things like that. So I get it and understand it. So ever learning but never able to come to. Don't let him kid you. Daryl's a smart guy. Smart guy. But I know what you mean by that, the scripture guy. But Daryl's a sharp guy. Daryl, did you take the automotive class at high school? I bet you did. I bet you did construction and the automotive. Yes, I knew what you meant. Yeah, they our knowledge levels exploding in the man way, but in a spiritual way, it's they don't find truth. But Daryl, did you take any of those metals, construction, or automotive classes in high school? I figured he probably took them all. This guy, he's multi talented. I'd say he was. I'd say he loved the automotive and construction a lot. I would say that. Those were cool classes, though. I mean, it was good that they offered it. Back in those days, all those guys, not all of them, but a lot of them, they weren't going to go to college. They were going straight into doing what they loved, which is construction, automotive. You know, working in some sort of shop. Where they built things. Now the local school, a lot of the guys would take in. My dad went back and got it. He never really stayed. He was foundry, but he did go back. My dad was a tool and die man. That was a big deal. You go learn all that stuff, running lathes and all that good stuff. But um, he did take that. I remember him taking it. I was young. He finished it up, did night classes. I think it helped him at work a little bit, but he never really went that way. My dad was a foundry man, foundry and security. He worked two jobs. My dad worked hard. My dad taught me the ethics of working hard. I missed a lot of time with him, but he worked hard his whole life. And even when he passed, he was retired because they shut down. He didn't get all his money. They ripped him, but he got some money. My dad was mowing yards. Mowing yards. Okay, yeah, I tried to work at combustion, but went in the military instead. Yeah, around here, DuPont, combustion, those were TVA. Those were great jobs to have, and but so's the military. I'd forgotten about that. And that was that Marines or Army? Daryl, if I've got it wrong, forgive me. Anyway, and then God, but he's been in God's army. I know he's in that army, and he's been on the front lines of that army. Um, they should have trade classes. Yeah, and in Georgia, I think they're going back to that. That was what I kind of said in the beginning, because a lot of these kids don't need or want a degree, but they are great with their hands. They're like I said. Um, oh wow. Well, I know he took good care of you. Then that was a great career, and you were Army. Sorry, I said Marine, Army. But those were a great job. Now some of those kind of jobs have came back to this area. Um, there's there's still, even though the industry has changed right here, there's still a lot of companies coming in, and some of those are kind of working in some of those same places. But now they're making windmills and stuff. One of them didn't make it. I think they shut down. Not as many people wanting windmills as they thought. But I knew some guys that left our company and went there as maintenance men, and they jumped at least $5 an hour, if not 10. Those jobs were paying well, but when the government contracts dried up, so did the job. So many of them are kind of left out, you know. So, oh my goodness, how long were you in the Army, Daryl? I don't remember. This is Get to Know Daryl Day. I love it. He's a great guy. Midnight Rider. Y'all pray for him. He's had a lot of health problems over the last handful of years. Still battles a lot of that. Well, it was, but you know, somebody got filthy rich in that racket for sure. Well, and you know, really, that was that changing dynamic, and that's what killed Wheeling Foundry, where my dad worked. I worked there for a short time, but my dad worked there, and they drove them companies out. They did 4 years. My dad was so mad because he said, "We have orders, tons of orders at Wheeling." They were making, the brake. Not pads, the rotors and stuff. They were making them for. I think they had contracts with Toyota, if I'm not right, and maybe the Saturn cars and stuff. They had a number of, but he said the business was good. Oh yeah, I remember that. 101st Division of Airborne, yes. Ruh, ruh, ruh. Absolutely, we say that with respect and reverence. What a great one. Absolutely. So you made some jumps then. Jump school. I know you were down there at Fort Benning. That's a great place. I got to go stay a few days there. Niece's husband was in the Army. Got to run around there. It was pretty cool. Hello, Jake. Good morning to you. Yeah, it was. It's a lot of. I want to go back and go to the museum down there. Yeah. Oh yeah. You're riding along the base, and there's a sign that says "caution" or something like that. Tanks crossing road. So you have to make sure there's no tanks crossing the road. I'm thinking, dude, if a tank comes along, you better believe I'm pulling over. That's right. You are absolutely correct. Jimmy Henderson, the 101st, he was a Screaming Eagle, and then he became a screaming guitar guy. Oh, like a lot, though. He just should have been around a lot longer. I might say it probably took, going that way took his life, even though he gave us so many in society, not just in that field, that genre, but in so many, just so bad. But yeah, it's a fun place. But I was always thinking I'm going to get pulled over. You know, I'm trying to be real careful. We would go off base and do our shopping. We did take her by the PX, his wife, and but they had a nice apartment. Yeah, it is a tough area, a lot of crime. Tough era, or area or era, tough era. I've never read that wrong. And Biden come along and changed all that, but the president has been changing those names back. But I was down there when we were headed the last trip to South Georgia before. This is what Biden was, not the last one, maybe. It had to be. It was before they started changing it back. I think it was right around the time. It might have been right before the election. We were down there that year. But they never changed the name of the road. Fort Benning Way or whatever it's called. They never, that sign was still hanging there on the main. It was crossing over me to go towards that way. I was going through town. And I said, good for you. I saluted as I went through. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in a brain fog, man. It's amazing how much I can't think anymore since Lynn's passing. It's just like I'm in a fog. Yes. Lost a lot of talent, a lot of amazing talent. Keith Moon, you know, Richard's his lungs were filled with wine and air. Hair, clothes were so. Look how level was very low. Michael Jeffries had him whacked. Hmm, interesting. Um, yeah, so much talent just gone, just gone. You know, some of those, like we think of uh, Dwayne Allman, and so being, of course, his was wreck, motorcycle, of course, the plane crash of Skinner. I mean, wow, just think about it. Probably a 10-year period. Think of all the amazing talent that was lost to drugs, alcohol, wrecks, plane crashes, including in country music. Just think about that. Amazing. Just crazy. It was, of course, the country was going through a hard time. I didn't experience it where I live. I mean, we had pretty good here, Daryl. We did have some in the city up there, some uprisings, but I lived it. Nothing. There was no problem. I saw it on the news. I remember, and I've seen it live. I didn't have to go back and look at it. I watched the news with my dad. We saw the fire hydrants, and we saw the people getting whacked with the clubs. We saw the Vietnam video. I saw all that live. I watched it at the feet of my, sitting there by my dad. You know, and like I told you, one of the times I got sick, and my dad had to take me to Children's here there in Chattanooga, and we got stopped by a tank. Um, I did not, because we had a singing. It was kind of a testify singing day, but I will this next week. Yeah, I did the week before. I did 2 weeks. I did been back preaching for 3 weeks, but I didn't preach this week. We just had the one service. We had a dinner afterwards and spent some great time with the Neils, who's been on the podcast here. Great people, love them. And but I did. I was ready to, but I didn't. We had a good time. Um, I need to get you come preach. The EMS techs that came to pick up his body testified he was already stiff. That he had been dead a while, fully clothed, laying on a made-up bed. Jim's girlfriend was in on it. Well, I've never heard all that. I mean, I never looked into it deeply, to be honest with you. But lost Mama Cass around the 70s, early 70s. There's a bunch of them. Bunches and bunches of them. And really changed the dynamic of a band, and even though bands may have went on to greatness, a lot of people said that their trajectory was changed, and they really weren't quite the same because they went in a little bit different style because of the loss of those. A lot of bands, or just that someone left the band, that it changed. Even though Journey was one of those. A lot of people don't like the late 70s, early 80s and on Journey. They like the early version of the band. So, it just depends on what era you come from and what you were listening to, whether you liked it or not. A lot of people love the early REO Speedwagon. Thought it was much more rocky than it was when, what's his name, came in. Even though they made great hits, they made a bundle of money. Let's face it, they owned the charts, but they weren't as rocky. There was more, ballads and stuff, a little more popish, or maybe a lot more. So it changed a lot of things. And I got to get the music show started back. We need to have some of those discussions and talk about those things. So I'm planning on starting it back this week, maybe one tonight. I need to get back started with that. I enjoy talking music. I don't know everything, but I like to share what I know and then learn what I don't know. That's the cool thing. Have to get off here in a minute, but it's good just getting in here and talking. I enjoy the conversation. I hadn't talked about some of those things in a while at school. It brought back some good memories. I had really good high school. Like I said, I left early, got my GED, and went in the Navy. But first state track you bought was RL Speedway. High fidelity, man. How many didn't have that? I mean, my gosh. I think that how about the Ladies World Series? I've been watching a little bit of that, or not watched it, kept up with it a little bit. I was trying to get to it last night. I didn't get to it on the sports show, but I need to. But yes, amazing. Now we got a lot of things going on. You've got the NBA finals, you got the NHL finals, you've got the baseball, college baseball. The Dogs have moved on, and several teams have. That one, you're just getting into some cool stuff. The Braves are leading the league. I mean, they're the best, have the best record in baseball. Pretty cool things going on. Two big trades yesterday in the NFL. I mean, big trades. Kind of get your focus back on back on the NFL as well. So yeah, some pretty cool stuff, man. Um, the football fan burned down Paris. I didn't see that. Um, I did not see that. I was doing a lot of this stuff, and I didn't get a chance to check on all news. But was that because of a soccer match? I heard there was some violence, but I really didn't know anything about it. Man, I miss you too, man. I hope you can get back soon, or at least come in by video. If you can't make it here, hey man, don't worry. Your spot is secure here. You're part of this crew, and when you feel like the door is open, dude. Don't ever worry about that. You're mentioning everything we do because you're a part. Your family. Yeah, it was a soccer. That's crazy. We've got a really productive. I mean, a really high level soccer, league team and league in this area. I need to go. Um, it's pretty cool. I just have never been. I've never been to a soccer match. I mean, I wouldn't want to go nothing like that. I think I'll take a hard pass. It's like, no, I don't think I will do that. Yeah, they do. They'll kill the players. I wouldn't want to be a soccer player for some countries' teams like Brazil. My gosh, man. They'll come to your house and jerk you out and string you up, man. I mean, like, you lost that match. You cost us the cup. You're crazy. But, and that's why I used to feel sorry. And I still do. I love, and my granddaughters all were in gymnastics at one time. And I told them, as long as you want to do it, we'll do it. There was no drive to it. They were all pretty good at it. In fact, I think one of them had a chance to be really good at it. But I've always been about that. What you want to do, you do. You do your best. And then they decided to get away from it. And we did. But they have great memories. But I've always felt sorry for those young girls. They were all abused. Let's face it. Even the American teams. I mean, we've saw some of the stuff that's come out. If it wasn't the dirty kind of abuse, it was the physical demanding, forcing them to do things that, for the sake of winning. I just always felt when I was young growing up, I felt sorry for the Czechoslovakia, Romania, Russian, those girls. I mean, they were a money machine for the machine. And they were made, I mean, their life was programmed for them. They had no life. I always felt sorry for them. And then I didn't realize how bad it was on the American side as well, and just some of the stuff that was going on. Also, we're at one game in South America, the ref made a bad call. The fans beheaded him. Good Lord. Put his head on a spot. Crazy. On the field. See, that's what I mean, man. That is absolutely, it's like something like Mad Max, man. I mean, but it happens. It does. Paris is horrible anyway, man. I mean, they got no control. France has lost control. I'm telling you. Paris it will burn because they don't have enough. They're starting to get tough. Germany is too on some of this stuff because they're about to lose their country. I'm telling you, if these people become armed, they're going to start losing whole areas. There's areas the police don't even go into. They're afraid to. They're told not to. We'll kill you. I mean, they've ruined their country. And for people that's yeah, I mean, that's the way it is. And that's the way it's going to be around. These areas are controlled by who's the strongest. And in France, that's not the government. They have entrenched themselves, and there are areas. And I'm going to tell you, in America, we know it's headed that way. It ain't quite there, but I'm going to tell you, in Dearborn, I'd say we've almost lost control of that. Almost. Now we don't send our military in. Yeah, England too. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I mean, I would not want to be living in one of these beautiful, small English, quaint towns that was always so beautiful down the lane and the beauty of it. Now it's all punks, rape squads and all that. I mean, it's horrible. I feel so sorry for the people. The people, they didn't want that. They didn't ask for that. Their government has burned them down. It's sorry. Scotland too, to a degree. I mean, it's horrible. It'll never be the same. It'll never be there. Those towns have been basically the same for generations upon generations upon generations. Slot. They never stayed up to date. They were always just these small hamlets and stuff. Beautiful little towns. Some of them are unchanged since the war. That when we were there, it never changed. The only thing that scarred them was the war. But now, the kids can't walk to the school bus stop or to the school. They're bullied, they're beaten, and or the other. And a lot of times there's no justice. It's really, really sad. I'm extremely sad what's going on in those areas. Did I see in the UK some invader stabbed a British man? He was bleeding out. The cops. I did hear. I saw the video. Listen to the invader cry about the man he stabbed to death was a racist going viral. I did see it. It's crazy, man. I'm telling you, it is absolutely crazy. Scary, honestly. And I think on like our, the border towns in America, that was getting crazy too. People, roving gangs coming up into your ranch, stealing, taking over, no help. And then they were getting on to the homeowner if they lit them up. They were trying to arrest him. We know that one case where they said he didn't have to shoot him. Elderly couple, they're being overran. We get off my property and boom, people. And then you get all these people that don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, there's a lot of people calling for it. There's a lot of people calling for it. They're very unhappy with their leaders. They're weak. I mean, they're weak globalists. They're horrible. The king too. Horrible. Every one of them. I mean, they're just horrible. But some things, oh my gosh, it's just. I mean, they're stupid. They're just stupid. They've destroyed their country, and they want to look down their nose at every other country, and they're just nutso. Well, you know how it is. Democracy, because Jesus is only going to be the government's going to be, great and lasting and all that. We just over time, democracies fail. It's proven throughout history, because they mismanage it, and they turn it, they just destroy themselves. We really destroy ourselves. Well, now here in the U.S., if you speak against the data centers, anti-tech terror. Oh, there's people get fired up about it. I've kind of heard that recently. Somebody said, well, I don't like them. Well, they head whip around. What? There's a lot of people that'll get mad at you for saying that. That's jobs. That's going to help us on our taxes. That's this. That's that. It all goes back. There's nothing new. It's the draw of money, and how that's going to. They always lie to them that it's going to help them on their taxes and they're going to pay less when that never really happens. They just slick willies just keep them coming. Let's consider Russia and China our biggest enemy was really England. Israel. England is the leader of the globalist agenda. They still have their hand in their banking system. The global agenda is bad. Is bad for sure. I do got to go. I got to go to work. I love the conversation. Love being on here. Thanks everybody for being here. If you asked me a question, I missed it. I'm sorry. I've been trying to check, and I do got to get Good morning to you, sir. Sorry, I'm leaving, but Broski, how are you? And we've had great conversation this morning. This is what I want to have. This is what I love. This is why I do what I do. The conversation. I love it, and that's absolutely why I'm here. It's like a family, and we don't always agree as family, but we do. I enjoy having you. Those people are ignorant at the end of the game. The data centers, those people are the ones who will turn. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it. All right, I got to go. I really do. I'll see you tonight. We'll do her up. We'll do some things, and I don't know. I don't know if we got any storms scheduled today or not. We've had some storms in the area. Y'all have a blessed day, and let your light shine for others. Don't forget our contest. If you go to Substack and you do a free subscription, we have a drawing we're going to do at the end of the month of June for all those that join our Substack. You got to do this free subscribe, not just follow. You get a brand new, I've never opened it, Yeti mug, a pack of our sample coffee with Wolf Nation, and a year's paid subscription to Substack. We're going to do 3 names. That's first prize. Second is coffee subscription. Third name drawn is a subscription paid. The first one that's about $100 value with the Yeti and the coffee and the subscription. It's about $100 value. All you got to do is go there and set up. If you don't have a Substack, set it up. It's free, and then give us a free subscribe. And we're putting things there that are not found elsewhere. We've just started. Have a blessed day. We'll go with some music. It's good to be alive today. God bless you.